It's an odds world. Betfred Bingo.
Welcome to Sports Central, the show that's renowned for an A to Z guide of sport, fantastic coaches and first-class athletes from the Northwest. Coming up, Great Britain's Jonathan Willis tells us about the history of fencing, shows us the skills involved in the sport and gives us a glimpse of what it's like to be a professional fencer. But first we head to Bolton to catch up with ex-professional heavyweight boxer turned trainer and manager Alex Penarski. Alex brings us up to date with his life story and explains his reasons behind his somewhat unorthodox training methods. He shows us why we should never take a heavyweight lightly.
We were brought up tough and rough and stuff like that, you know, we didn't have no posh stuff here, and we were brought up rough. Terrace mining house, and that's what it was. I mean, a lot of guys out there are on a similar basis to me, but at least know what it's like to be there and come up from the roots of life. And if you hit the good times, it's okay. You can live with that. But at least I came from 79 ranked to the #1 ranked in the British light heavyweight rankings. Made champion and got to the elimination with titles and beat all the best.
Tell me about some of the fights you won. Tell me about some of the boxers that you fought.
Some standing out. Well, everyone knows Tom Collins, good champion, good banger, knockout specialist. Fought Dennis Andrews 3 times light heavyweight champion, world champion, plus British champion. I beat Tom. We had to do Tommy Brooks, my old trainer. We got like do a reconnaissance on him, see how he fights, long left jab, swooping left hand, hook. Poleaxe his guys over so he knocked John Joe Green out, who took my rankings, which I'll have a refight with him.
Once your career inside the ring had finished, was it a natural progression to go into training?
I've always trained. What is hard is it's management. I understand all the old managers, I had 4 managers, mate. I got rid of them all. I went into my own profession, I promoted myself, and the management side is hard. I mean, it's more of the paper side, the writing side of it all, or the clerical side. I'm just trying to get used to it now. I still want to get in the ring and spar, as you saw today. I still want to get there. I'm not finished with that thing in my head yet. It's not gone. You know what I mean? I still can't give it up.
As unorthodox as some of your training methods are, you still seem to be enjoying it.
Unorthodox, I mean, sometimes I don't agree with like just standing there throwing jabs and right shots. To me, that's an amateur side of the scenario. I mean, I'm a fighter. I was a street fighter. But I brought that street fighter thing into a movement. I worked with my dad and my brother, Richard, and they got me fighting like I did. My brother Richard incorporated the weaving bomb situation, how I move. I get my shots off. I fought a guy called Carl Benoit, top 10 light heavyweight. I took a fight short notice, cracking fighter, but I ripped him to pieces. I mean, I ripped Tim Woods to pieces with the same scenario of style. I upset loads of people with my style. But again, if they get me in the centre of the ring and start jamming my head off and I stay there, remains in the centre of the ring, I'm in trouble. I've got to get them on the ropes, or used to. That's where it was. All those people, all those hecklers outside the ring there who didn't get in there, shout, do this, do that, and they don't remember how hard the training is and how hard it is in there to incorporate those moves you train for, even though some of them don't come off. You know what I mean? You have to go with it, yeah? Grit and bite your teeth and go in there, grit and take the shots. People don't realise on shots, sometimes guys win fights, But on the night they've lost the fight because they've taken 2 shots to the head. And months later or years later, they suffer through it. Yeah, I try and get a defence where I'm on attack mode, but I've got a defence and boom, I still don't take as many shots. You know what I mean? But you've got to learn to ride them shots as well, which I try and show these guys here.
Tell me a little bit about Johnny Enigma.
Johnny Enigma came to me, had ex-Fusilier, Fusilier, told me he had 28 fights, won 24, had a problem, we're out a few years, working on the doors in Bolton there, and he says, can I take him on, train him? I had loads of guys coming in, and he says, well, I trained him, he just had his last fight with a top fighter, took his rankings, and he's brilliant.
I'd always heard about Alec, but somebody said to me, if you go training with Alec, he's not for the faint-hearted. He gets you 100% fit, do you know what I mean? So I come down and I had a bit of a beer belly, a bit overweight, and within 6 months he got me in top condition. Up the hills with a weight vest on, carrying people on your shoulder. It's all, old school. And I find it suits me better. Being closed up in a gym in Manchester and hitting the bag doesn't really appeal to me.
What sort of goals have you set yourself?
I've not really set any. Anything I achieve now in boxing is a bonus because, to be honest, I thought my boxing career was well and truly over, being 30 odd year old. But I thought it was well and truly over, so I said, you know what, I'm going to take one fight at a time, jump on the train. If I've got to get off at the next stop, then I'll get off at the next stop. But I'm just enjoying it. I feel more psychologically fitter now and mentally fitter now than I did 10 years ago. Fantastic trainer, done a lot for me. I've got to thank him for everything. I must admit he's one of the only people who believed in me, because I must admit I said am I not too old at this age, and Alex turned around to me and said I had all my best fights in my 30s. So I thought, looking at a man now, he's fitter now than he was 20 years ago, and he can keep up with us, and it's just like somebody said to me, age ain't nothing but a number. So, at 30 odd I feel fantastic.
We didn't see any today, but I believe you do train women boxers. Where do you stand on a big boxing debate concerning women?
I didn't really incorporate the training of women until I went down to see Richard training women in his gym, and he has a gym in Nottingham, Alfred, and he trains some fantastic women, and I just look at them and say, I can't believe this. So I try a few up here, but there's a few girls come here and like, the dynamite, the willpower and just how they are, how they're built. Sometimes people look at a woman, oh well, breast blow, building into the soft. They're not soft. Women are hard. Some hard women out there, man, I tell you. That's why some women work on the doors. Some fire cats out there. Some girls can have a go at guys in big time. You know what I mean? Well, again, you need a woman to live, don't you?
Tell me about where your love of all things Roman came from.
I just love the Roman thing. It's just I think really it's just that the mechanism of the Roman soldiers, the gladiators trained, the military strategies and what they incorporated over here and what they brought over here and how they changed people's lives. We owe a lot to the Romans. I mean, that's where I go to Rome. I love Rome. I could live there, man. I could live in the amphitheatre, the Colosseum. I've got stuff all over the place, man.
I can see you living there.
I love it. I'd love to have been a Roman soldier, man, I tell you. God made me, I'll tell you what now, I'm not joking now, I'd love to have been a Roman soldier. Love to have been there.
Tell me where you got this fantastic uniform from on your right.
This one here, part of it off the film Gladiator, yeah. I've got one of the main swords in the house, they're off the Gladiator, which was used by Russell Crowe. There was 4 used by him. I've got the one that used to thrown to him in the Colosseum. I'll keep it in the house because of the insurance, yeah. The rest of the stuff, I mean, gladiator swords and things. These are gladiator swords that they used to use the stabbing thing with the big shields, which I've got in there. All the armour and stuff. And most of it came from American, where it was used on the set. And they brought over here and they used that. It was filmed down in Essex.
How would you like people to remember Alex Penarski?
I'm a family man. I look after people, but in the day I'm an old fighter, I'm an old gladiator. We like to show past experience on to the younger ones coming up.
That's all for part 1, but stay tuned as after the break I have a go to sport that in the broadest possible sense is the art of armed combat involving cutting, stabbing or bludgeoning weapons.
It's an odds world. Betfred Casino. It's an odds world. Betfred Bingo.
Welcome back. We now take to the fast and energetic sport of fencing. Fencing is one of the oldest sports in history. It's believed the secrets of Abraham Lincoln's success in dealing with people lies within a lesson learned from the dueling incident. As a young man, Lincoln wrote letters ridiculing people and dropped these letters on country roads where they were sure to be found. He did this just once too often, and on one occasion the guy he mocked challenged him to fight a duel. To save his honour, Lincoln accepted the fight and took lessons in sword fighting. On the appointed day, they met at the Mississippi River, prepared to fight to death. But at the last minute, the fight was brought to a stop. The incident taught Lincoln an invaluable lesson in the art of dealing with people, and probably had a major impact on world history.
It started hundreds and hundreds of years ago. Basically, it was a way to settle arguments. If I called another man a liar, he would say, pick up your sword, and away we'd go. And we'd fight off, and the first one to die loses, literally. Sadly, that became illegal. They changed the rules, so instead of dying, what they did was they blunted the tip, put a big cork on it, and put a spike there. So what it was, if I was having an argument with a gentleman, he would call me out, would fight with our sword, and the first one to draw blood would win the argument. I think one of the last duels actually went on for about 3 or 4 hours, because one guy called the other guy out. They had their swords at each other and realised, oh dear, someone's going to die here. No actual duel took place, and eventually they decided to call it quits and went home. And then it evolved from there into a sport, like any other thing, like archery or shooting, and it's evolved now, it's a sport in its own right. When I was 12 years old, a gentleman by the name of Bob Merry, a fencing coach, he was retired from the Air Force, came around all the comprehensive schools in Stockport and literally said, for £1 a session, does anyone want to come for an after-school club? And a few of my friends said, yeah, we're up for that, and it started there. When I was 15, I moved to this is the Stockport Sword Club, and I've been here ever since. It's a physical sport, as you've seen, but it's also a mental sport. You have to outthink your opponent, as well as be physically fitter than them. You can be the fittest man in the world, but if you can't outthink your opponent, they can just do simple moves on you at the right times and they'll score a point. Coming up for the junior ranks, I won all the British junior titles from under 17 up to under 20. As a senior, I've won pretty much every domestic competition there is. And internationally, I've won one World Cup event in Germany earlier this year, and my current world ranking is 42. We train here on a Monday and Wednesday, 8:30 till 10:30, say from all standards, from complete beginners to internationals. There's a very nice club on a Friday night at Bramhall, and also there's several clubs in Ashton and Manchester, which meet throughout the week, so there are plenty of fencing clubs.
Well, John, I'm dressed ready for the fencing lesson, but beforehand, take me through the kit.
OK, we'll start with the exciting stuff, the sword. Simple piece of kit. All it is, it's a blade, as you'd expect a sword to be, but it's got 2 wires running down the end there, and that's for the electronic switch at the end. So when you hit something, you'll hear a noise and see a light. Going backwards, you've got the glove there to protect your hand, and then from there you've got your jacket. The jacket's made of something called Kevlar, which in fact is a bulletproof material that arm response unit people wear, so it's exceptionally strong, exceptionally tough. And just in case that breaks, underneath the jacket, we wear something called an underplastron, which I'll show you here. Which is that. And that's a 3/4 jacket. It's just like an extra layer of protection, just in case it's needed. On your head, you wear what you've got underneath your arm, the mask. As you can see, that's wire mesh. It can take about 1,600 newtons of pressure, so it's really tough. If you whack that, absolutely solid. It's interwoven
so it's very
mesh.
safe.
Not a lot's going to get through there.
Now, how safe is the kit? Because I know from the 1980s that there was a lot of advances in the kit because of a fatal accident.
Yeah, it was a German foilist called Matthias Baer, and he was fencing away, and he hit somebody in the middle of the chest, and as the blade bent, it snapped, revealing a sharp point. That then deflected onto a guy's mask. Now the problem was in the olden days, masks were made of wire mesh, but they were flat, so the pressure on the thing had nowhere to go, and it sadly went straight through the mesh, through the guy's eye, and killed him. The change that's been made is the mesh is now a lot stronger, and also, as you can see, it's an angle. So if a blade hits it, it will deflect off. All the pressure doesn't go through one point there. So it's the kits. Every year, new kits get stronger, it gets safer.
So tell us about the weapon. This is an épée weapon.
The épée weapon is based on the old rapier. It's like the equivalent of the dueling sword. It's slightly smaller, and obviously, like all sports, fencing's evolved into more of a sport than a fighting or an art form. What we've done is we've taken the weapon. It's slightly shorter, and it basically works on whoever hits first wins. So if we're fencing each other, you hit me first, you score a point. If we hit at the same time, we both score a point. But the problem was, a lot of people in like the 1800s and 1900s were dying. So we needed a way to practice fencing without killing each other back then. So what they did, they invented the foil, which is a training weapon. And it focused on basically the trunk of the target, basically the vital organs. Anything that could kill you with one stab, they concentrated on that. And that became, I think, an Olympic weapon and a proper sports weapon in its own right in about the 1900s. So that was developed over in France. You've got the sabre, which is a cutting weapon, and if you've watched Sharp and you see Sean Bean in there, that's what he uses. And that's developed from a cavalry sword. So with that, you can only hit above the waist, because the theory being you're strapped to a horse, so if you were to chop someone's leg, it would hurt a lot, but it wouldn't kill them, and they'd still be able to move because they're strapped to the horse. So in sabre, above the waist only, foil, trunk of the target, épée, my weapon, anywhere from head to toe.
So this is a thrusting weapon.
Yeah.
That's slightly heavier than the other two.
Indeed. The foil and épée are basically, the foil I say is a training weapon for épée. So they're both thrusting weapons, they work the same. Sabre, you can also thrust with the point, but you can also cut with the side of the blade.
How does the recording work?
What you do, because fencing's so quick, you can't actually see it with the naked eye. So what you do is you have, I showed you this electronic tip there, 2 wires, and it plugs into, it's simple 3-ply socket, live neutral earth. That plugs into my body wire, which plugs into there. That runs up my arm, underneath my jacket, out the back, there. And that would plug into a spool. It runs down the back, out the back, down there, through the ground lead, and every time there's a point scored, a red or green light will come on the box. Okay, what we've done with yours is we've put a little training aid in there, which is sometimes you're having if you're having a lesson. So if you can hear that. So if I'm having a lesson with my coach and I want to know if I've scored a point or if I've done a valid hit, I have that plugged in so I know that I've made a good touch.
Now I was reading about the sporting moments and about the top 10 cheats in the world, and it came across a fencer who actually went to the Olympics.
He was a gentleman called Boris Sonishenko, and he wasn't actually just a fencer, he was a modern pentathlete, so he did running, shooting, swimming, riding and a bit of fencing. And in men's pentathlon you fence to 1 point, so it's obviously to score 1 point it's very advantageous if you can make your sword go off, the light come on whenever you want to. So what he did, he rigged up a little switch inside his épée. And so every time he got his point near to his opponent, he pressed the switch and his light would come on. And people weren't too sure because it's so quick. They thought, oh my word, he must be really good. And there's actually a British pentathlete called Jim Fox who actually spotted he was cheating and basically told the referee and they got him banned. I think Boris now, bless him, is driving a taxi in Kiev for a living. So,
but that's what you get for cheating.
Indeed.
And tell me, why is the kit white?
I don't really know. I think it's more down to tradition. It's always been white. Fencing masters, the coaches have always worn black. The students, the pupils, we've always worn white. You can get coloured kit, but it's got to be all one colour. So what the Italians do, for example, because they're a rather fashionable race of people, they get white here, and underneath the arms they have their blue, because obviously their national colour is blue. And a few other countries have a few different colours, but in the main, it's traditionally always been white.
Well, I was reading that, well, it could have been white because before the recorded point system, the only way to sort of see whether you touched each other, they put ink or maybe chalk on the end of the sword, and therefore that's how they do the recording.
Quite possibly in the olden days, I say before electronic scoring, it used to be you had a referee and 2 judges, and what would happen, you'd be fencing away, and if you score a point, a judge would put his hand up. Obviously, you can imagine the controversy that caused if, say, France versus Germany, someone scores a touch and the judge goes, no ref, never saw a thing. So, yes.
Knowing enough about the sport, it's time for my lesson.
Okay, so the basic footwork is you put your front foot forward, your back foot at a right angle, and bend your knees. what we'll do is we'll do a few basic moves. So that's it. Probably winning the World Cup event in Germany, because it was unexpected. Fair to say it was unexpected, and for Britain to win a World Cup event, it was the first time it happened in 26 years, so it was a really big moment. A low point was probably my very next competition. Going from the highs of winning in Germany, I went out in the first round in Paris, and so you go from one extreme to the other. Yeah, I've done about 33 flights this year. It's been mad. The World Cup circuit for me starts in the Middle East, so I went to Doha and Kuwait. And then from there we did Europe, so Italy, Estonia, Portugal, Germany, France. There might be a few others I've forgotten, but most of Europe. I went to Montreal a few weeks ago, and then we went to New York to do some training with the Americans. Then we finished off in Puerto Rico. And this Thursday I'm flying to Buenos Aires, and then I'm coming home. Europeans in Belgium, World Championships in St. Petersburg. And that'll be September and my international season over, so I've got a few air miles under my belt. I'm sponsored by B&Q on their Olympic programme, and there's 11 of us, what they call aspiring Olympians, and we're paid a full-time salary, and we work a part-time week. I'm very lucky, so this week I think I'm doing 12 hours, and I'm still going to be paid for my 40, so I've got lots of time to train. And then also UK Sport have given British fencing some money, so they pay for all my competitions. And I've got a kit sponsor from Leon Paul who provide all my fencing kit. It's basically building towards Beijing and hopefully qualify for Beijing and go to my first Olympic Games. And that's the real target.
That's all for Sports Central. All you dedicated sport fans, don't forget to tune in the same time, same place next week for more sports stories from the North West.
Okay.
It's an odds world. Betfred Casino.